you're a friend of President Biden, you've known him for a long time.
Sure.
And looking at his poll numbers, which are really quite bad at the moment, things have gone wrong. What would you say about what's happened to the White House since he's taken over, and what's happened to America since he's taken over?
Well, I mean, you can't, it's like taking a battered child and thinking everything's gonna be okay, and, his first day in school. There's a lot of things that have to be repaired. There's a lot of healing that has to happen, and it's going to take time. Poll numbers come up and go down. I would expect them to go back up again. Donald Trump's numbers went up and down.
He's still there, prowling around in the rhododendrons.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's going to be a factor for a while. It's so funny because he was just this knucklehead. I knew him before he was, a president. He was just a guy who was chasing girls. Every time you went out, he'd come over and be like, "What's the name of that girl?" That's all he was. And the idea that there's this whole group of people that, that they think he's the champion of, which he certainly can't stand in real life. But, he's gonna play this out for a while, and we'll see where we go with it as a country. My hope is we have a little better sense than to do that again. My hope.
George Clooney and Joe Biden were supposedly good friends a month ago. George viewed Biden as the man who could save democracy from Donald Trump. George, along with other prominent figures in Hollywood, including Julia Roberts, Jimmy Kimmel, and Barbara Streisand, publicly endorsed Joe Biden and hosted a fundraiser that raised a remarkable $28 million for his re-election campaign as president. 2 weeks following a star-studded Hollywood fundraiser, George Clooney joined the ranks of the 50 million Americans who witnessed Joe Biden's cognitive decline during his debate with Donald Trump. After Biden's strange proclamation that we finally beat Medicare, Clooney wrote that he felt compelled to speak out about the deterioration of Biden's cognitive abilities. In an op-ed, Clooney expressed his concern about the dissimilarity between the confident leader he had met in 2010 and the current Biden.
George Clooney is loudly calling for President Joe Biden to step aside. On Wednesday, the New York Times op-ed section published an essay from the actor and director where he forcefully argues for President Biden to end his campaign for re-election and allow a new candidate to take on Donald Trump in November. Clooney, who has starred in and directed several politically minded films over his career, began by expressing his admiration for the current president. He wrote, "I love Joe Biden, as a senator, as a vice president, and as president. I consider him a friend, and I believe in him, believe in his character, believe in his morals. In the last 4 years, he's won many of the battles he's faced." But he went on to bluntly share that the Biden he spent time with at a recent fundraiser is not the same man who won in 2020, and instead the man America witnessed during the June 27th debate. Clooney wrote of Biden's recent debate performance, "Was he tired? Yes. A cold? Maybe. But our party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw. We're also terrified by the prospect of a second Trump term that we've opted to ignore every warning sign." He continued, "The George Stephanopoulos interview only reinforced what we saw the week before. As Democrats, we collectively hold our breath or turn down the volume whenever we see the president, who we respect, walk off Air Force One or walk back to a mic to answer an unscripted question." The Oscar winner, who is one of Hollywood's more engaged political players, went on to say, "Is it fair to point these things out? It has to be. This is about age. Nothing
I
more.
like George
But
Clooney
also
as an
nothing
actor.
that can be
He has
reversed.
charms
We are
and
not going to
enormous
win in
charisma on
November
screen.
with this president."
However,
Ladies and
suggesting that
gentlemen,
he
the
or any
President
Democrat,
of the United
including the
States of
media,
America.
have consistently spoken the truth is a farce. These people are now admitting the reality of Joe
I guess I
Biden's
should
cognitive decline
clear my
because they see
mind
the
here a little
potential
bit and not
loss
say
of the
what I'm really
Democrats'
thinking.
agenda
Let me be
in the
clear.
2024 election. And they can no longer gaslight the public. It's worth noting that over 75% of Democratic voters supported Biden in the primary, and it's not a good idea to criticize him while he's grappling with significant issues. I urge Democrats to concentrate on their vision for America instead of attacking their own candidate. If their agenda resonates with voters, they will back Biden, who they know isn't the one pulling all the strings. Hardcore Democrats will continue to support their party, even if it means voting for a corpse. So let the presidential race between Biden, Trump, and all the other candidates proceed as scheduled in November. However, I would argue that if Clooney truly valued honesty and desired to safeguard democracy, he should have voiced his concerns much earlier. In recent years, Clooney and other Hollywood elites were quick to dismiss and brand as far-right extremists those who had pointed out Biden's confusing words and actions. Yet, many nonpartisan individuals had recognized Biden's shortcomings years before the disastrous debate. Joe Biden, his wife, staff, and all the Democrat establishment and left-leaning have covered up his cognitive decline for years. These liars impugned the characters of many people, telling them that what they see is not true. So I say, let the chips fall where they may in the upcoming election. Democrats, back your man Joey with conviction.
And how is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you,
What?
sir.
What is
We're
the
going
rabbit
to
hole?
go ahead.
He said
go
he
ahead.
talked to Mitterrand.
Go ahead.
in-
You saw the president in Vegas, in California. You've seen the president in South Carolina. You saw him in Michigan. I'll just leave it there. Go ahead. Go ahead.